In 1914, 11 strong players were in St. Petersburg to cross swords in an uncompromised battle. In this video, I want to share with you a game played in round 5 between American chess champion Frank Marshall and the reigning world chess champion Emanuel Lasker. Hello chess lovers, Soren here, and as usual we are going to witness a fantastic game, but before starting let me tell you that this was Lasker's first tournament in 5 years. Moreover, he got an additional 4,500 rubles for playing in this tournament. As Dr. Tarash said, he deserved even more for the splendid games he played in this tournament. And now without further ado, let's get started with the game. Marshall, who had white pieces, opened up with d4, to which Lasker responded with knight f6, c4 d6, knight c3 knight bd7, knight f3 e5, and e3. Of course, in here white could immediately claim the center by going for e4, but Marshall chose a bit humble e3 continuation, bishop e7. There we have it, all the Indian defense is on the board. Instead of fianchettoing the bishop, Black is putting it on e7, where it's playing a slightly passive role than it usually does on g7. Bishop d3 by Marshall, Black castled kingside, queen c2, rook e8, white castled kingside, bishop f8. Looks like that Black is acquiring a slightly passive and waiting strategy, and in return we have knight g5 by Marshall. As Dr. Tarash said, Marshall starts a violent attack which would seem to be perfectly justified. Already we have a target on h7, that's why Lasker played g6, and this time we have f4. He takes d4, he takes d4, bishop g7. So finally Black brought his bishop on g7, but Black did it at the cost of losing a precious time. f5, there it goes. White is trying to destroy Black's position as soon as possible. As Tarash said, Marshall could still complete his development by bishop d2, rook e1 without the slightest risk, but now he throws caution to the wind. There we have it, f5, and now let's see what's going to happen next. If Black can undermine this pawn on d4 and free the e5 square for the knight, then in that case Black can almost solve all the problems. Here we have knight g4, and right now Black is hitting on d4, knight f3 and c5. Yes, at all costs Black wants to free the e5 square for this queenside knight and complete the queenside development. F takes g6, f takes g6, and h3. According to Tarash, against any other opponent, Marshall would have played bishop g5, and this is what Stockfish suggests. And instead we see h3, which is not giving White much. Moreover, after this move, Black is managing to get a pretty nice game. C takes d4 by Lasker, bishop g5. Finally, White is developing his queenside bishop with a tempo, and in return we have knight e3 counter-attacking white queen. Queen f2, queen b6, and we have knight d5. Here the exchange of knights on d5 followed, and knight c5. Black will now develop his bishop as well, and yes, if we take a look at the position, Black even has an extra pawn. But still, he has to face some dangers on the king side. Rook a-d1 by Marshall. Well, at this point, knight h4 is a more active try. If rook f8, then queen e2. If knight takes d3, then White can go for the exchange of rooks on f8, and then play queen takes d3. And now if you develop your queenside bishop, then White can go for knight takes g6. And in this case, actually, we have an equality on the board. Instead, we have rook a-d1, which is allowing Black to keep that extra pawn. Bishop d7 by Lasker, queen h4, and bishop a4. Well, there was no need for this move, and instead it was better to remove this light-squared bishop, which can play a very huge attacking role. And then play bishop b5. If rook b3, then d3 check, and then queen c5. Black is just doing great. If here, then bishop a6. Instead, in our game to queen h4, Lasker answered with bishop a4. And the problem with this move is that White could simply neutralize the threat by playing b3. Although this line starting with b3 is pretty much complex, and quite possibly Marshall failed to see the upcoming moves. The thing is that after knight takes d3, you should see either bishop f6 or bishop h6 moves, which are very difficult to find. An immediate rook d3 steps into bishop b5, and yes, actually at this point you should play bishop f6, and once you are managing to exchange the dark squared bishops, you can create some problems. If queen d8, then knight takes d4, and don't forget that we have two hanging pieces, and yes, white is managing to win one of them, and all in all we have an equality on the board. But instead of choosing this line, after bishop a4, Marshall chose a razor sharp bishop takes g6 move. There we have it. White is throwing at black king every possible piece. White is first deflecting this pawn from the h file, later not allowing black to make a move like h6, and then at this point Marshall played bishop d8. We have the second bishop sacrifice, with which Marshall is freeing the g5 square for the knight. Queen takes d8, knight g5 with a direct mating threat, and at this point black is actually forced to give up the queen. Queen takes g5 by Lasker in order to neutralize the attack, but one thing Marshall overlooked. In this case, black is even doing better. Black has extra material while white's attack is repelled. Queen takes g6. Yeah, white is not paying attention to this bishop and instead is creating rook f7 threat, and a very beautiful defensive move by Lasker. Can you find his next move? Ready? This time he played bishop c2, yes, a move which completely neutralizes white's attack. From afar, of course, seeing this move was impossible. Queen takes c2, and quite possibly this was the move which Marshall overlooked, you know, and organizing his scary attack. And d3 by Lasker, queen d1, a5, although he could even capture on b4 to remove this pawn. Queen g4. And by the way, what do we have? Against the queen and the pawn, black has two pieces and a rook, and also a beast on d3, right? Yes, black's position is totally winning, and white has no counterplay. Rook f8, rook d1, rook e8, black is centralizing his rooks. Queen g6, rook e2. There comes the rook, yes. If you want to win this pawn, then you are free to do it. After d2, black is winning. That's why to rook e2, white answered with rook f1, and there comes d2. Here the exchange of rooks on f8 followed, which allowed white to win this pawn on d6 with a check, but black king is in safety and there are no perpetual checks. Queen h4 check, bishop h6. White can no longer announce a check, and this pawn is unstoppable. That's why at this point Frank Marshall capitulated. There was a nice attack by Marshall. He played pretty bravely, you know, but on the other hand, Lasker also played very well and he managed to repel white's attack successfully. That was an impregnable defense. In the end, a chess puzzle for you where the task is to find the winning line for black. It's black to move, and as usual, we'll wait for your answer in the comment section. Feel free to check out my early uploads as well. We'll see you in my next video. Take care.